Hi guys, it's April and it's the end of November, which means immediately after I am done doing this, I'm going to be putting up the Christmas trees, or at least placing the Christmas trees where they're supposed to be placed, because Christmas trees are already up. I don't know why I'm explaining this to you guys, but they are. But the real reason you probably clicked on this video is to hear about what I read this month. So the books I want to talk about are the books that I read in the last half of November. If you want to hear about the first half of November, I will link it up above and down below in case you're interested, and I will also link the Read-A-Rama wrap-up, because I believe Read-A-Rama happened this month. I am losing track of my mind and the dates, and yes, Read-A-Rama did happen, so I will also link to that as well. The first book that I read is I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Maurene. This is one of the cutest reads I have probably read all year, and it might stem from my love of K-drama. This is the story of Desi, who is very tragic in her love life. It is her last year in high school, and she is bound and determined not to screw things up this year. After sitting through several of her dad's beloved K-dramas or Korean dramas, she devises this plan that is based off of all of the things inside of K-dramas, the tropes that all of the romance stories follow. Now here's the thing, this probably isn't the best book ever written, but I have a huge love of K-dramas and their soap opera-ness, but their cutesiness, that this book just fed my soul in a way that romance novels have not done in the longest time. It was absolutely adorable in a very nonsensical kind of way. When you sit there and you devise a plot to crash a car so that he will fall in love with you, you know things are gonna go really wrong. But I read this one in one sitting because I just ate this up, because it does follow a lot of K-drama storylines, and of course it also mentions a lot of the K-drama stories that I always talk about. And so if you like K-dramas, I highly recommend that you read this book because it is absolutely adorable. The next book I read is The Oyster Thief by Sonia Faruqi. This book was sent to me for a review, and I have a full review up on my channel. I will link it up above and down below. This is the story of Coraline, who is a mermaid who is studying to become a master healer. When her brother becomes ill, she goes on a quest to find this magical elixir. It is also the story of Izar, who is a human who is bound and determined to create underwater fire. He has a deep hatred for mermaids and so is set on totally destroying them, but in the process he himself turns into a mermaid, and we all know that these two characters meet and things happen. Now while I really am intrigued by the plot of this story, things didn't quite come together. The writing was a little choppy and a lot of the story plot lines were a little juvenile, which was really confusing because it does take on some adult themes. At the same time, the language feels really young. I do think the story could have been really truly amazing, but it never really got there, unfortunately. I also picked up Still Lives by Maria Hummel. This book is for a book club that I am in, so it's not something I would typically pick up. It is the story of Kim Lord, who is an artist who doesn't make it to her own gallery opening. It is also the story of Maggie, who is an editor at this museum where this gallery opening is happening, and for several different reasons she finds herself embroiled in trying to figure out what happened to Kim Lord. I love the look into the backside of galleries and how all of that is set up. It does take an interesting look at the fetishism of crimes against women and how we seem to amplify them in the media. I struggled to actually connect with the main character a lot of times. I didn't really care, and because of that disconnect with the main character, I also struggled to bring myself to actually read this book, and if it hadn't have been a book club book, I probably wouldn't have finished it. And like I said, it does take an interesting look at the fetishism of crimes against women, but the ending completely destroys that message, in my opinion. I can't go into the ending here because of spoilers, but I struggle to understand why the story was ended the way it was, and I think I will forever be slightly irritated by that, which is another reason why I'm not a huge fan of this story, but it wasn't absolutely horrible. There were some very interesting things and different looks that it takes on this whole crime against women and the art world itself. I also picked up the second volume of Sandman by Neil Gaiman. I don't know why I decided I needed to pick up the second volume, because I really can't get into the story. There are so many dark things that go on in this graphic novel that it makes me feel a little icky after I finish reading it, and I need to go and find something bubbly to just purify myself. But for some reason, I picked up the second volume. It pretty much in line with the first volume. You follow the Sandman and that weird line between the waking world and the dreaming world and nightmares and all of the things that happen in the human realm. It does take a look at some of the continuation of what was happening in the first book when the Sandman was not at his post and things that happened there and following a family line. Some of the things that happened during that period of time, which was interesting. I'm so conflicted about this series. And last but not least, I picked up Ghostgirl by Tonya Hurley. This is the story of Charlotte, who chokes on the gummy bear on the first day of school and dies. Of course, that is not the end of the story. She is a ghost trying to figure out why she is still here, pining after her crush. At first, I thought this book was a middle grade read just because of the way it is written and all the tropes that are thrown into this story. But no, it's YA. It's on this weird pre-teen crust, I think. That's probably why it feels middle grade at the same time being YA. It is very, very tropey, and it's something I probably would have absolutely loved if I had found it in middle school, but there were a lot of instances where I'm like, you are being absolutely ridiculous. But it was a very short and quick read, so I finished it, and I have the 2 other books on my shelf somewhere, which is why I picked up this first book. I don't know if I'm gonna pick up the next 2, because I can't see the quality quite reaching to a place that actually keeps my interest. So those are the books that I read this last half of November. December is starting, tree is going up. I am super excited. Tell me down below how you think I should decorate my tree this year, because I have no idea. None whatsoever. So leave suggestions down below, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.